Okay, Gerard Keaveney, you're welcome to visuallongford.ie on the eve of your first solo exhibition in the Atrium Gallery. Can you tell me a little about yourself as an artist?
I can, Fergus. Fresh out of college, I'm only after finishing in Sligo IT. I've done 4 years there, so I'm after getting my honours degree. Reasonably, well, I'm new enough to the art scene, kind of just starting off.
Right.
First solo show, as you mentioned. My work is based on family life. For the first years in college, I was kind of just playing around with a few ideas.
Right.
And myself and my partner, we ended up having a son. So
Congratulations.
that experience kicked off my work. It's an always evolving art as your child progresses, they evolve. You kind of try and play on those things that your children do and try and capture all the energies and emotions that come with family life.
What drew you to being an artist?
I've always been interested in art from childhood, as long as I can remember. Like my mother used to often throw pens and markers and paper my way, and I think from first class we had a nun that used to teach us.
I see.
Sister Beatrice, and she seen something. She told my mother, he has a talent, so nurture it. Very good. I think it's a natural thing for me to paint.
Right.
I think sitting down with either a paintbrush or a pencil is the handiest thing for me.
And you graduated with an honours degree from Sligo IT, and you came back to the Midlands area. What brought you back here to develop your practice rather than go to maybe one of the more typical parts of the country, like the west of Ireland or Dublin? Or
a mixture of things, really. Having a child phone, my partner Naomi, she's from Carrick and Shannon. Well, I fell in love with the dock as well. I knew a girl from Carrick who'd done what I'd done in college and ended up in the dock, and I'd seen the space, and I kind of aimed towards getting that space as well.
Well, I said this is your upcoming exhibition, is your first solo exhibition, but you've already been involved in a number of group shows in the area with during the Crow Festival last summer here in Longford in Providers, and in the dock also.
Yeah, in the dock as well, had a show in Wicklow as well.
Oh, very good. Right.
Yeah, I've been lucky since I finished college. A few things have come up.
And what's your experience of working in this region in particular?
Probably the best experience I've had since finishing college, which was surprising for me because I kind of left Longford on a bit of a negative note. But to come back and see that the whole art scene it's really taken off here at the minute.
Very good.
And I'm getting a lot of help. I mean, with yourself and the galleries, and I'm making a few contacts here as well.
Would you recommend artists to come to live in rural Ireland? And this is not just an advertisement for Longford and Leitrim, but in rural Ireland in general, particularly when you consider the cost of living for artists in Dublin and the other urban centres that are possibly better associated with the visual arts in this country?
I think so. Reasonable prices, definitely. I mean, I found it very cheap in the dock, and I've looked at places in Dublin, even Sligo, and the price is outrageous. I mean, to come here, you'd save a fortune. Well,
hopefully more artists see things the way you do and will start to move towards the Midlands and settle here. It's bound to have a beneficial effect on the visual arts in the county. Now that you're from here, grew up here, and now you're back developing your practice here. If you had 3 wishes for the development of the visual arts in this Midlands border region, what would they be?
That art needs to be brought to the people. But people haven't got enough time to visit Dublin or Sligo or Cork to go and see art. We're lucky that we have the backstage here, the Atrium Gallery, but I think that there needs to be more venues maybe. We do have festivals, we have pop-up shops, exhibitions, but I think something that's more
structured, more professional.
Yeah.
Yes, I've heard that view voiced. Now, we are lucky in the Midlands to have the Dock in Carrick and Shannon and the Lewin Gallery in Athlone, but it is fair to say that compared to parts of Ireland, we really don't have that infrastructure for the development of the visual arts that they have, that they enjoy. What else would you like to see done?
I think the art culture needs to get bigger. We're lucky enough here, we've had the Love Longford Festival, we've had the Cruhu Festival. We're lucky enough now we have the Blue Room in town.
Yes.
Which I think it's towards that kind of line as well, where we can invite more people to come and share their ideas, get people talking and expand on it.
While I'm not a fairy godmother, that's 2 wishes.
Yeah.
Do you have a third?
Yeah, I think that there needs to be more support from local government, the community, businesses to make things happen in the town. Like we seen it with the Cruhu Festival last year, great response. People loved it. Businesses are always talking that not enough is happening in the town. The community also. So I think that if people can get behind the arts, that it could be a great thing for the Midlands.
Yeah. Now, Gerard, I'd like to talk to you a little about your work, the work on exhibition in the Atrium Gallery for your first solo show. But perhaps you might look at one of your pieces and maybe you might talk me through it.
Perfect.
Great. Okay, Gerard, this is an example of your highly individualistic style of painting. Would you talk me through this painting?
Of course, Fergus. This painting is done on MDF. It's collage, oil and acrylic. Because I'm into the whole urban scene, I like to use techniques that are used in the streets. One, for instance, is wheat pasting. What I use it for is sticking on paper. So I go to cities and I'll take off bits of billboards, adverts, anything that I can use for my paintings, and I'll stick them on. So for instance, in the sky here, you can see the letters coming through, the bits of paper from billboards, and I've used the wheat paste to stick them on.
Right.
And then after that I'll attack the canvas. I try and get as much energy into it as possible. I'll go into the studio, stick on a bit of music, whichever suits the mood on the day, and I will just attack it.
Right.
Get as much colour on as possible. So after that, I had an idea in mind, which was the cityscape. Because I love street art and graffiti so much, it was a natural thing for me to do, was to go to Dublin and take a few shots of the city and try and incorporate it into my paintings.
Right. Now, you have some very playful looking characters here. Is that a direct reference to your son, or is inspired by him?
It is. My work was always a reaction to something that's happening at home, and sometimes it's quite simple. My son, or anyone would mention a child and say, "Oh, the child is the king of the house." But king is a street art term as well. A king is somebody who is very developed at what to do.
I see.
So it's kind of a playful thing for me to use it. So we see the crown over the child's head here. It's just little playful things like that.
Yes.
And then we recently got a new cat, and of course there was that whole thing between the 2-year-old and the cat.
Yes.
Meeting each other for the first time. So that was a natural thing for me to do as well, was to put the cat in.
Yes, the overall impact is one, playfulness and fun and enjoyment. And this, of course, gave rise to the title of your exhibition, which is
Kings and Toys.
Kings and Toys.
Kings and Toys, yeah. I mean, everything has to be playful.
Right.
I'll try and capture every emotion as possible, all of them. And try and tell a story through each painting, right from childbirth to where we are now as a family. I mean, a lot of time I'll have an image in my head and I won't think about it. I'll paint it and I'll reflect on it afterwards, or I talk to people about the painting and they'll see something and realise, oh yeah, well that's something that has happened.
This is one of the things that makes visual art so distinctive, is the way that many visual artists, not all, but many visual artists find it easier to articulate an idea or a concept in a visual sense rather than in a narrative sense, as perhaps a poet or a novelist might do.
Yeah.
Kings and Toys is your first solo exhibition in the Atrium Gallery on Wednesday the 11th of March. And I wish you all the luck with that, Gerard, and many, many exhibitions to come.
Thanks very much, Fergus.